It's time! Are you looking to study in the US? Noma, usuqalile uya-apply but akakoqedi. Or, of course, usu-applyile but now you have to worry about ukuthi preparing for accommodations nazo zonke lezo zinto. What you need to consider. This episode is definitely for you. This is Kula with Ngobile. You are growing with me. We are growing together. We are discussing career-related content, lifestyle, life, in academia, and everything in between that just contribute to our growth as an individual and as a whole, here in this community growing with me. So let's get into our episode today. So often apply like a US, like any of the schools in America. Uma u-apply their requirements and lawo ma-requirements athatha isikhathi ukuthi uhlanganise yonke into esuke idingakala. Basically the whole application nje you have to keep in mind ukuthi izothatha isikhathi. Udinga izinto kwesinye depending ukuthi u-applyela yiphi program, but in general ajwayele ama-programs ukuthi abe nama-requirement athi awafani, kuwukuthi-ke kwezinye indawo mhlampe they might ask you to submit like a writing sample, you might be asked to submit a research sample, depending. Kukhona those additional things ahlukahlukene based on the program efunakalayo. But the basic things that you might need, you need like a personal statement, and then in some you will need like a research statement. You also need like 3 recommendation letters, and some programs are specific ukuthi mhlampe kulama letters are 3 adingakalayo. 2 of them should come from your professors, or 1 should be like, not more than 1 should be more of like a personal relationship. It should come from a professional, like it should be a professional recommendation, mhlampe so that like la usebenze khona, and then another one maybe zoyibhalela professor wakho, and then another one ke mhlampe umuntu who also knows you in a personal level, zonke lezo zinto. But some nje they'll be like 2 out of those kumele aphume from your former professors. And then of course your transcripts are required, and ama transcripts akho you need to keep this in mind ukuthi some schools will say ukuthi okay, you can send in like the copy of your degree, or like, yeah, and then your academic record and whatnot. Send your copy and the actual degree thing. But some schools, they want it to be sent directly from isikole leso bufunda kusona to them, not you. So if ubufunda e-UJ, uzofonela e-UJ ubatshela ukuthi ngi-applyile, this is what you need, and you have to submit my transcripts lan. So what happens is, like, njengoba I went to UKZN for my undergrad. So what happens is ukuthi I had to call and get a UKZN to submit my transcript, and then mese lang submita khona the transcript, they then get sent to iskole. So it's like there's like a third party UKZN submite khona, and then they sent those transcripts bona to lezi kole lezi that I applied to. So it's a process, and depending ukuthi isikole sakho sikanjani, it might actually take longer than you anticipate. Kahle kahle nje, the sooner you start the better. Uma kuukuthi, and depending and another thing, ngoba kuthatha isikhathi, ama timelines awafani. Depending ukuthi program leyo applyelayo, u-applyela ukungena in fall, which is around like August, September, or ufuna ukuza in spring, so uzoqala ngoJanuary kuFebruary kanje, or wena uzoqala iprogram yakho in summer around May, June. So ama timelines awafani, and you really need to keep in mind ukuthi wena iyiphi timeline oyilandelayo. But the most important thing ukuthi there will be a priority deadline in most schools. A priority deadline, it's very, very important ngoba if you miss a priority deadline uzothi and then uzosubmita ngalenye deadline le general, sometimes i-program lo applyela kuyona isuke isigcwele already. So I had like to call I had to call and make sure ukuthi they were still accepting abantu before I even pay money ngi-apply ngibe sekugcwele, you know. So there's that too. And then a priority deadline is also important ngokuthi if you want to be considered for izinto like funding, teaching assistantships, sometimes even ama-scholarships that are available kuleyo department o-applyela kuyona, or research assistantships. So zonke lezi zinto they impact ukuthi uzoba no-funding omngakanani. Because in some schools, if you get one of these things like a research assistantship, that means ukuthi maybe 50% of tuition yako is paid. You get what they call a tuition waiver, or you just get complete like full funding. So full tuition awukhokha esikoleni, and they also pay for like your health insurance. So if you miss out kuma priority deadlines, you're missing out on a lot. Like oh no, bafuna my application got December, but they are still closing go March. You never know. Well, you don't know mawukuthi like, you know, you're in your home country, akekho umuntu okutshelile, and I understand like you don't fully understand the difference ukuthi why kunama deadlines out too sometimes abanye abantu aba-understand. So you just have to keep in mind ukuthi the sooner you apply, the better. Scholarships, space sometimes, even if you have your own funding, there's nothing you can do about it. And another thing that also has to happen, depending again the program I apply, like some programs they require like some standardized exam. I had to write that exam to GRE because I was okay. Public health, they usually require the GRE exam. So I had to write that exam, and it takes time for you to prepare for the exam. I wrote it somewhere eThekwini, sengikhohliwe the exact place engabhala khona, but nakhona you have to book in advance because kuyagcwala. Akwazi ukuvela uthi ayi ngizobhala next week. Abantu sebebhukhile ama-spots are full, and it's not like bathatha abantu abaningi osukwini olulodwa. So you have to keep in mind ukuthi it's not only just your timeline, but there are certain things ezenzekalayo eceleni okumele understand ukuthi i-application yakho, sometimes you are able to send the application yakho without results like the standardized exams, and then sometimes bafuna usende yonke into. So it should be ukuthi you give yourself enough time ukuthi ubhala i-standardized exam, and yeah, uyabhala i-standardized exam. Mind you, there's like time in between ukuthi they still need to grade the exam. So uma mhlambe kuvalwa ngoFebruary 15 or something, try by all means ukuthi maybe like mid-January usuyibhalile i-exam, so that ama-results akhe ezofika esikoleni ngale la usuhambisile khona the rest of your application ngesikhathi. And then kungabo ukuthi yafika i-application yakho ama-results awekho, cause then they will be considered like makufika i-deadline, then that will be considered an incomplete application. So awufuni ukuba sesimweni esikanjalo ke usukhokhile wasubmita zonke lezo zinto, cause kunama-fees yasubmita esikoleni application i-cost imali. At least i-test-ke they tend to last for 5 years, so you won't have to rewrite the test for like the next 5 years unless you choose to, you know. Yeah, so the process in general, it takes time, and this is just the application process kuphela ukuthi uthole isikhala esikoleni. There are other things that come afterwards, njengoku-apply visa, zonke lezo zinto, trying to make sure ukuthi you secure like you secure accommodation, nazo zonke ke lezi ezinye izinto, ubone ukuthi what's around, wenze leyo research ukuthi uzohlala phi. Yeah, so give yourself enough time, give yourself months ahead, and ungayitsheli ukuthi no ngiyatatazela. In actual fact, you are doing yourself a favor uma uyinikeza isikhathi esanele. So another thing ke ukuthi you should keep in mind what will happen after graduation. I know. Akawoqa noqali program and I'm just here saying kuzokwenzakalani after graduation. So it's important ukuthi kuzokwenzakalani after graduation because depending on program ozoyikhetha, kwamanye ama-program you only get 1 year ukuthi usebenze in the United States after you graduate. Yes, 1 year. And then kulowo 1 year you get a start date. So let's say you graduate ngo-December. Uma graduate ngo-December and then you choose ukuthi start date sakho. Start date sakho within from the day of graduating ngayo, it shouldn't be more than 60 days from the day of graduating ngayo. So it should be probably like somewhere, maybe you should, if you're taking a break, but you should make sure that your break doesn't reach your 60 days, because then you get disqualified for the OPT or the option to start working. So there are a lot of things that go in between that you need to understand, and you also need to understand ukuthi uzothola isikhathi esingakanani for ukusebenza, because if you're in the STEM program, you can get up to like 3 years ukuthi usebenze after graduation. But nakhona there are certain regulations okumele uwalandele, like uyasebenza unyaka wakho wokuqala and then lo muntu omsebenzelayo, they have to kind of like fill some forms bakurenewele ukuthi ukwazi ukuthola the extra, like the additional 2 years. So yeah, there are certain things that you just need to understand, and ama-program awafani depending what you graduate when. Yeah, there's that too. So yeah. And then another thing that is really important, especially if you start playing and you're like, okay, these are my living costs, like you're not in the US yet, you should know good team. Like if you're on a J1 visa, F1, zonke lezo zinto, you are limited ukuthi usebenze 20 hours per week. Kulo 20 hours per week, you are also limited ukuthi usebenza kephi. So ukwazi ukusebenza on campus kuphela. So getting like a position that I mentioned before, research assistantship, teaching assistantship, those are the things that you can do, or you can get other jobs on campus. Kodwa some of the jobs may not have the benefits ongawathola if you're a research assistantship. Like you can get a job on campus, but it won't pay you for your tuition, or it even give you a tuition waiver, or it won't waive your health insurance. So you need to consider what's okay, ngizosebenza on campus, what kind of job do I have to, or like, what kind of job ngizothola. You should reach out to professors in your department, ubone ukuthi ubani who has an opening for a research assistantship or a teaching assistantship. So zonke lezo zinto, it's time, and email abantu. Yeah, emailing them on the other end, abakakaze bakwazi, like they've never met you. Omunye uzofuna ukuschedule ukuthi abe ne-meeting nawe. You should be ready ukuthi leyo meeting is more of like an interview. Zonke lezo zinto. So you should consider that, because lo 20 hours uzothola usebenza ecampusini, and it's probably one of the ways uzokwazi mhlawumbe ukuthi ukhokhe rent yakho, usebenze ecampusini, then you pay your rent, or uthenga ukudla, zonke lezo zinto. So if ungenayo leyo option, then that means you have to come here with more money and stuff like that. So kunaleyo party ke. And it's also important when you're considering ukuthi uzohlala kephi nendawo, like are you finding accommodation, i-accommodation ene-furniture already, or uthola i-accommodation engenayo-furniture, you have to find your own. Noma uzohlala on campus, you have to consider ama-cost-ke, ubone ukuthi ukuhlala on campus kubiza malini. Mhlawumbe ucela esikoleni sakho la ucabanga uku-aplya khona, ucele baku-connectise with one of the international students, bakuchazele mhlawumbe isimo ukuthi kwenzakalani, because kenzeka like ukuthi yabo i-accommodation kuyenzeka ukuthi ufike kwenye indawo. For example, in Texas, they didn't have ama-accommodations that were already finished ngale nkathi mina ngimuva. The time I moved there. Abanye abantu who moved maybe like a year or so before me, bawathola bona some houses asene-furniture already. So mawungenayo i-furniture, then that means ukuthi you need to make a plan ukuthi uzoyithola kanjani. But in some places ikhona uya kwi-apartment ine-furniture, mhlampe amanzi, i-cost yagesi, i-internet i-combined with i-rent yakho. Kukhona nendawo yabo, like indawo yokuwasha nazo zonke lezo zinto. So like I said, kwezinye indawo ke abanayo indawo yokuwasha, but mhlawumbe uthola ukuthi ayikho erumini yakho, ise like in a common area, and those ones ke that are usually in the common area, so kumele mhlawumbe ukhokhe, like kube nama-coins or scan like i-app, whatever indlela ekhokhwa ngayo ukuthi ukhokhele ukuwasha. But you tend to see ukuthi leyo suke mhlawumbe isendlini, ufike endlini ine-furniture nakho konke nomshini wokuwasha, awukhokheli lowo mshini wokuwasha, yonke into isihlanganiswe kwi-rent yakho. So you need to just take your time, if possible, even like if you go like on social media mhlambe, check like people who are studying abroad, yeah, like there are pages mhlambe uzobona ukuthi South Africans in the US, just drop your question there. Usho ukuthi okay mhlambe I'm applying in this state, like okay uzothi I'm applying in Kentucky, in the University of Kentucky, ukhona yini mhlawumbe umuntu ongangisiza ngalapho, or like in terms of searching for accommodations and understanding ukuthi how do people move around, because in some states, okay, in most places, guys, to be honest, I work on tax, yeah, so melutate how do you call this thing? Melutati Uber or isn't kanjalo. Sometimes kumele uyokwenza like igrocer or isn't yabo. Or mhlampe ke you can choose ukuthi uzokwenza like you buy igrocer yakho online nazo nakho konke lokho. So but probably most of it maybe taking Uber and go and do your groceries khona uzobona ukuthi ezinye izinto isebenza kanjani. So those are all the things that you have to consider. How ukuthi uthanda yokuhlala kumele ukhokhele ugesi. Of course ugesi ngeke ufike ufana every month yabo. Yeah, kuyashintsha. And if you have to pay for internet, and you also just have to pay for I don't want to call it prepaid or whatever. How do I even explain this? Like ifoni yakho, and try and see which services will you use for ifoni yakho, so that you can factor all this cost uma usacabanga ukuthi uzophila kanjani. Yeah, ukuthi uzobukhokhela malini mhlambe for ifoni, ukuthi emzansi ukuthi sithenga i-airtime, but lana you don't buy airtime. It's more like, I don't know, like a contract kind of vibe, you have to pay every month, and then you have unlimited calls, unlimited everything. Yeah, you have access to everything. Yeah, you can call whatever, decide ukuthi ufonele umuntu wakho nilale efonini nixoxa, yeah, whatever you choose ukuthi wenze ngani, but everything just get unlimited. Kodwa you have to pay every month, cause kuyenzeka uthola ukuthi umuntu, like let's say ukuthi I've had a friend ukuthi wangakhokha, like they missed the day, engakasethi like an auto pay nakho konke, and then you couldn't call them and they couldn't call either, like yeah. So it's more like ifoni yakho, like they cut off like the services, so you have to factor in zonke lezo zinto. Okay, yeah. And if you have imbuzo and anything I guess in terms of apply and probably just the life as an international student, drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe, like this page, and share. Yeah, see you another time, probably next weekend again. Love you. Bye.